Good to see you again, Mike. It's been a great end of the year for us here at Brick Labs. Thank you for coming on board with our students for the last few months. Just to let our audience know, we brought you in because I had concerns about the language studies. And I know you're an expert. And coming in a couple of times a week, I was amazed at the change in engagement, the way you presented it. Can you let our customers know what do you have? What's the magic ingredients?
All right. Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you for having me this year as well. It was a pleasure to get to know your students. I noticed that students are most engaged if you engage one-on-one with them first, developing a specific relationship with each individual student. Right?
Yeah.
And it's sometimes just as easy as that. It's getting down on a chair, getting down at their level, asking them some questions, breaking the ice, and just sort of gently explaining what you want to do, what you want them to do, and why you want them to do it. The why is super, super important.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Kids want to know that it's worthwhile doing the work. So letting the kids know that right off the bat is super important, because then they get that light bulb over their head and they're like, okay, I can do this, and I will. It's interesting, right? So just building layer after layer on one on top of that.
Yeah, it was remarkable. Like a couple hours a week, where the students jumped to really quickly.
Yes.
And to us had this idea to offer it as an extracurricular in our STEAM programming this September in 3 different formats that you came up with, and I love them, and I think they're really needed out there right now. What you're dealing with, you tutor kids in the public system and in the private system. What's the missing link right now that's going on out there?
The missing link is that classroom activities are often too generalized, or may I say politicized, and students, again, they're missing that reason. Okay, why am I learning about this? What is the purpose? How does it apply to my life? So a lot of students are missing that link, and this ties into the answer to your first question. Students, most students, they have it in them. They do, they really do. They have more in them than they are showing. And it's just a matter of bringing that out, right? And that comes with them having the willpower to put that effort in.
Yeah, what I noticed when you were working with our students here is they really enjoyed the material you were bringing in, the readings that you were bringing in for them to do. And they come back and keep chatting about that excerpt that you brought. Can you tell us a little bit about your ideas behind that?
Right. Well, it's a pretty old idea, and it's the idea that older significant works that have sort of stood the test of time, they really are the most meaningful works to engage with. And I find that that's true across age levels. It really, well, within reason. But if you're a strong reader, you can engage with strong literature. And engaging with strong and meaningful literature really helps with that willpower, that feeling that you can do the work and that you should do the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing when they got exposed to these not new ideas, old ideas, or old writings or older writings that they've never heard of, but when you start to really discuss it with them, and then tie in things like values and principles and what's the author trying to bring out, and what are what's kind of the main characters are realizing, they really enjoy that.
They do. It makes it real for them. And because some of these things are very old, I like to present it to students as, they're engaging with history, they're engaging with voices from the past. And I think that makes it much more meaningful for them as well. It also provides some structure as well to their sort of meaning-giving parts of their brain.
Yeah. As far as their, we have them reading, we have them talking, you have them engaging in discussions. What about writing?
Right. That's the tricky one. I tend to notice that students will excel in verbal abilities and they'll excel in reading abilities, but the writing, getting it down on the page, that's where the struggle starts. And honestly, just comes with practice. That comes with practice. Students do not spend a lot of time writing, especially by hand. And writing by hand is where the real sort of work comes in. When we're talking with our friends, when we're chatting with our friends, it's either verbal or it's quick text messages. And that's not the kind of writing that we're doing when we do academic writing. So we need to teach kids, often from scratch, the idea that English is a formal language, or it has formal features, and slowly showing them the way through sentence structure and grammar, how to build proper sentences, how to build proper paragraphs, and how to enjoy writing, right?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that I learned this year, we had a bit of an older student body this year, was even showing them that there's times to write differently. There's times that you can be creative and be out there. And then there's times you have to report, right? Where you're writing up a science experiment, what happened. And then there's time to do business marketing type writing. I could see they were starting together, but it takes practice, like you say, I think, to get them to not overlap the different styles on a specific document or something you need to hand in or something like that. Do you find like giving them exposure to a variety of styles also gets them performing at a higher level?
Absolutely, yes. Models are really what is most important in writing. Having a good model of business writing, having a good model of expository writing, having a good model of narrative writing, and learning as well how to write your sort of stream of consciousness thoughts, which is super important in drafting. Right? You can write your thoughts in drafting, and often students sort of miss this step, and then begin to form it into whatever you want it to be afterwards. And that ties in with learning grammar, that ties in with learning parts of speech and sentence structure, because as they gain a more advanced understanding of grammar, they are able to formulate more advanced sentences. And when they can formulate more advanced sentences, they can start to shape and mold it a little bit with more intention. So I find with students, we need to give them those abilities first before they can really start to write in the different styles, right? Style is something that we develop later. A lot of students are missing these sort of elementary skills of how to just get their thoughts onto the page. And that's something that I try to focus on. And that has a secondary component too, is how do you get ideas, right? So writing also holds hands with thought in a way. And that's something we try to experiment with too in our classes, is how do you then get your brain to produce a list of ideas, of acceptable things to put on the page. And once we sort of gain this expansiveness, once students are more comfortable having ideas, then we can start getting into the forms of writing. It's much more accessible to them then.
I think kudos to you, because on our last week of school, one of the students came up to me and was, John, next year we have to do more creative writing. And to me, that was a big step, especially for this student who was very sentencey in his writing, or very blocked down. But it seemed that all of a sudden he was less afraid of this creativity.
Right.
And he kind of opened up. And he's ready to try and get his ideas down, because he could tell a story verbally. He has a great mind, but what holds them back is their ability to put it down on paper.
Exactly.
Again, I agree with you. We called it at the beginning of the year when I was trying to teach them, it's like, we're going to do a skeleton first.
Right.
What's the start? What's the middle? Just what are the point forms? But I found they wanted to just write it and get it done. And now that you've given them this outlined kind of idea was
Right.
amazing that they could start to organize their thoughts better.
So one of the things that I did with the students is called a memory chain. And each student did about 6 or 7 of these memory chains. And the idea is that you sort of start with an event, either that you know about or happened in your life, going to Canada's Wonderland, going out for ice cream with your family, perhaps something that you read or saw on TV. And then you have to sort of prompt yourself to connect it to, oh, that reminds me of something else, right? So you're forcing your mind to associate it with something. And we go down as far as we can go on the page, and the activity for the students is sort of forcing them to make these associations. At the end, they had sort of the building blocks for a little story. They could then take those notes, those memories in the chain, and start linking them together in formal narrative writing. So that was a good way to sort of give them fodder for creative writing. And I absolutely agree with you. More creative writing is needed.
Mike, thanks for taking the time to meet with me and our audience and talk to us about the way you really bring language studies to life for our students. We will be offering at Brick Labs this fall extracurricular classes on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We are going to spread it across elementary class, a middle school class, and even high school students. And unlike our other Brick Labs activities, there will be no Lego involved. But you can find out all the details if you go to our fall extracurricular page and scroll down, and you will find the different options that Mike will be offering here this fall. So it's going to be good to have you as part of the team.
Great. Thank you, John.